Hey guys, it's Holly. So today I wanted to give you guys a tour of my Lego room, which is also my bedroom. I'm not one of those people that has an entire room or their parents' basement or a storage facility to house all of their collection. It's literally just my bedroom. The whole thing is very self-contained, and admittedly I've still got a couple of shelves in my old room upstairs, but for the most part everything lives down here. Now I moved bedrooms around about May, June earlier this year, and I feel like this space is pretty much the exact same size. However, the ceilings are definitely a lot taller, which just makes this room feel a lot more open, and I absolutely love it. It's also never this clean. I really cleaned up, I dusted, and admittedly this is my wardrobe, and if I opened this door it would be a complete mess right now because there is just a lot of like half empty boxes and stuff that I still need to sort through, but I'm leaving that for another day. So I hope you guys enjoy. So first up, right next to the door is my white Ikea Kallax unit, and right on the top I've got the micro scale Hogwarts castle. Now I know what you guys are thinking, oh the UV. Believe me, I live like a hermit. The blinds are shut half the time. I've just done it to make it look all pretty for the video. And out the front of the castle I've got the Hogwarts house founders, as well as the Whomping Willow and Hagrid's hut, and just for the time being I've also got my mini Disney castle, purely because I just absolutely love the set, but I don't know where I'm going to put it, so I thought I would chuck it alongside another tiny version of a castle, and it works for now. I love this castle up here. It's literally the only place that I have space for something that big. It's giant. It's the centerpiece sort of that unit, and really just tops it up, but it eats up so much space. Moving on down to the first row of shelves, and I have these like custom made shelves just that I cut up like a piece of wood and stained it in order to divide it up, which literally I made to the size in order to fit like my Blu-rays and DVDs. So on this very top shelf on the left, currently I've got half of Mos Eisley, as well as Obi-Wan's hut at the very back, the Tatooine speeder from the Trouble of Tatooine set with the Mandalorian and Grogu, as well as some of the figures that were in like the first half of Mos Eisley. I sort of tried to create this like mess of like a Tatooine scene, and it kind of works. Admittedly, the Razor Crest used to be up here and I loved having that up there, but I really needed to move Mos Eisley. It's very long and very flat, and it fits really nicely in this gap. Underneath is kind of another messy shelf. I've got a ton of my Pixar Blu-rays, which are all sort of held together by this little Tinkerbell statue that I have, which you can't even see her. She is like right behind the Avengers compound, but she is there. And then in front of that I've got one of like my Ikea X Lego boxes, which on the top I have a variety of my DC figures. And then just for now I've thrown in the Avengers compound, as well as the X-Con van from the Endgame battle set from this year. And then at the front as well I've also got Bro Thor's new Asgard. I absolutely love this set, and again I just don't know where else to put it. Sort of like the tiny Disneyland, but inside that I've left Korg, Thor and Meek. And again, just for the time being, I've got a selection of minifigures, including the 2004 Spider-Man. Then on the other side is honestly my favorite part of this shelf, and it is my Wicked Brick minifigure display stand. So this is one of the Kallax stands that they have, and I originally placed an order just to get like a acrylic film for this in order to make dust access this shelf a lot less. And when I was browsing, I found this stand. I made an entire video on it. I absolutely love it. I'm planning on getting another one of these things because of the fact that I've completely run out of space. So I've really been trying to prioritize it and sort of organize all of the figures in sort of like their MCU groups in order to get like the unique outfits and sort of pairing them up with which film they're from. It's been the best method I've had so far, but even then I feel like I've got too many figures to do that. And then here's how that looks with the little acrylic panel on it. But Wicked Brick actually did see the video that I made on all of those products and have signed me up to their affiliate program. So if you guys are interested in checking out their stuff, please use the link in the description. Thanks. Moving on down, and I have another one of those sort of like two-tiered shelf ones, and the one at the top is one of the only shelves besides the Marvel figures stand that I feel like is actually properly complete. So at the very back, I've got my 4 Hogwarts Moments books, which are actually covering a bunch of like my Disney Classics DVDs. And then in front of that is one of my favorite sets of all time, and that is my Mystery Machine, which I've kitted out with the entirety of Mystery Inc. So I've got Velma, Daphne, and Fred all in the front, and then Shaggy and Scooby are just sat in front of them. I love it. And then if you sort of move a bit more to the right, I've got my little scale model of my first car that I built based off instructions I got rebrickable. Just like the Wicked Brick stuff, I have a video on how I did that. And then moving over to the side, I have this little minifigure display case that I got from iDisplayIt, which on the inside actually houses a minifigure version of myself. I've also put my brick-built version of my Minecraft dog Peach in there, and one of my spare little Grogu figures to sort of represent my Grogu plushie. It's so self-centered, I know. This shelf's gonna get worse as if you move over. I've also got a brick heads of me. I mean, it's just really cool to have yourself, and even your friends for that matter, in Lego form. Honestly, probably one of the reasons I love this shelf so much is just because of how much sentimental value all of these items have to me, but I absolutely love it. On the shelf underneath it, I've actually reorganized recently, and it has now become sort of like a little Disney shelf. I moved the entirety of Flo's V8 Cafe as well as Steamboat Willie onto the shelf and was able to space out all of the little Cars versions from the original 2011 Cars wave a lot easier. You can actually see everyone now. And unfortunately, Mac in his entirety didn't quite fit, so I had to take off his trailer version and just stick the front half of him in. I really wanted to have just sort of the original 2006 Cars cast in Lego form, which is why I really wanted Flo's V8 Cafe so bad, and they all look fantastic with each other. I also parted out red and ended up buying that like tiny Cars 3 Junior set in order to get the sheriff, while his style doesn't match, which is kind of why he's at the back here. Then moving next to that is the first of the dumping shelves, where currently I've got my Benatar, which is missing half of a wing, as well as some Spider-Man Pop Funkos, a Wicked Brick stand, and a bunch of parts and pieces, and my lip balm. It's an absolute mess. Underneath that Disney shelf, I've now got my Harry Potter shelf. So I've got all of my Harry Potter books here, including The Cursed Child, and even some of like my Lego Harry Potter books, as well as Fantastic Beasts, Tales of Beedle the Bard, etc. And sitting in front of that is my first ever like proper Lego set. I sort of don't count those classic boxes when I really think about it. I always count it as like the 2007 Hogwarts Castle, and even next to it, I've got my sort of like modified mocked version of the greenhouse. But you'll also see temporarily, I've got my Giant Man figure in here just because he's very tall. I don't have a spot for him and he looks amazing, so I've just chucked him here for now. But when you take him away, here's what the shelf's really supposed to look like. I've also temporarily moved my Polyjuice Potion bathroom down here because I absolutely love this set, but after the Harry Potter promo came out, I swapped it out in my cabinet. Though one of my favorite additions to this shelf, even though I can't see it at the moment because Giant Man's in the way, is this plushie of Harry. I think he looks kind of cursed, but kind of cute at the same time. And I got him from Warner Brothers Movie World on the Gold Coast when I went on vacation. I don't know if that Harry Potter store is still there, but I got him years ago and he's stuck around. He protects my books. Then next to that, we have another dumping shelf, which has half of a Quidditch mock, some remains of my Hogwarts mock, more bags, parts, pieces, and like all of my custom students. Then on the very bottom, the only other shelf that isn't a dumping shelf is my musical theater programs, as well as like a couple of Lego storage boxes. And then in front of them, just sort of neaten it all up, I've got my Grogu plushie with the little plastic head, as well as a Sorcerer Mickey plushie that I got from Disneyland. It's sort of a dumping shelf, but it's like a clean dumping shelf. And then because 2 dumping shelves wasn't enough, I have a third one, which is just an absolute pigsty, and we're not going to talk about that. On the side of the shelf as well, I've actually got a couple of Polaroids, and then next to it is actually a drawing that one of you guys drew, Ben, who like often comes into the live stream. Then at the very top, I've got one Polaroid of each of my dogs that we've had, and they look adorable. I really like having these stuck here because I can see them from my desk. And speaking of my desk, ta-da! So on the left-hand side, I've currently got my 27-inch iMac, but one thing I do like about the iMac is currently I've got like the 3 Powerpuff Girls from the Dimensions packs that I got on clearance just stuck at the bottom. I think they look really, really adorable. I've also placed my buildable Grogu here. After I finished building him, I knew I wanted him on my desk front. I used to have Bro Thor's house here, but I swapped it out with Grogu. Then to the right, I've got my PC monitor, which at the top has a bunch of some of my favorite minifigures. We've got the CMF Spider-Man, the original Series 1 Cheerleader, General Grievous, Series 7 Ahsoka, Lola Bunny, the Zombie Cheerleader, just because it's Halloween at the moment. Also got the Justice League Wonder Woman, Lenny the Pink Spaceman, and the Rebirth Harley Quinn, who I absolutely love, and I've stuck her on the Harley Quinn Dimensions base. In the center, I usually just keep the microphone that I'm filming with. Then on the right at the end is actually my PC. When I moved my entire bedroom around, I decided to put the PC on the top just because I feel like it looked better up there instead of like cutting myself off some room underneath my desk. And I love it because when it's all lit up, you can actually see it because the glass is facing me, which is really, really cool. However, it does make it kind of bright at night considering my motherboard is RGB. I regret that decision when I built it, but at least it looks pretty, I guess. On top of my PC as well, while it's probably not a good idea for like dust attraction, at least it doesn't hurt the ventilation, I've got my Winnie the Pooh set. This was the first ever set that I got sent from LAN, and I love Winnie the Pooh. I grew up with so much Winnie the Pooh merch as a kid. It means so much to me. So the fact that that was my first LAN set and just is a beautiful idea set, I had to have it close by, and I love having it on my PC because it means that I can see it literally every day when I'm sat at my desk. And in front of my PC, I keep my Nintendo Switch dock, which is sort of just plugged in at all times. Then on the front of that, I've also got this little pot plant that my mum bought me. And then I have this amazing remote control holder that my best friend got me for my birthday. It's fantastic. I love him. I now hold my PlayStation 5 controller, which used to live on the floor. So this is honestly a lifesaver. I know it doesn't look like it, but it is. It's the best thing ever. Underneath my desk as well, I have this little drawer unit that again, I got from Ikea. And then lastly, in between my desk and the wall, I keep my PlayStation 5. It's pretty neat there. I can still access the cables. Nice and simple and easy. So my bedside table, I actually made myself. I found a bunch of images on Pinterest and I was like, you know what, I could make this. On top of it is my custom 3D printed version of my sig fig. Again, I know it looks bad, but this thing is absolutely amazing and is honestly one of the coolest things I own. My bed itself is shoved right up against the wall, which gives me so much floor space. Even though it's a pain to put my sheets on, it's so much nicer. Also on the floor by my bed, I sort of have my green screen all tucked away. At the very end of my bed, I have my fan, which points directly onto me. It tells me the temperature. It is so helpful. Next to the fan is the thing you've probably seen the absolute most, and that is my other Ikea Kallax unit, except this one is shorter and browner, and I also, again, built some doors to put on the front of it. Then right on the top, we have my two tallest Lego sets of all time, the Disney Castle as well as the Daily Bugle. And I've completely decked it out with like a ton of Spider-Man villains. I'm constantly adding to it and improving it. I love the Daily Bugle. It is my favorite Lego set. Then with the Disney Castle being my first ever big D2C Lego set, I had to have it next to it. And then I've got it all lit up and kitted out and it looks super cool. Admittedly, I haven't organized the cables very well at the moment and still need to try and automate it, but I love the way it looks when it is lit up. Currently, I've also got a Tinkerbell attached to it, and at the very top, I've actually shoved my Buzz Lightyear antenna topper that I got from Disneyland. Recently as well, I moved all of like my Lego storage containers that sort of all look the same right next to it in this little gap here. It's a tiny bit close to my bathroom door, but it's really easy for me to access them now, which is so much more helpful. Then lastly, another thing that you're probably very familiar with is my IKEA Billy bookcase. I regret getting it in black, admittedly, but at the same time, I do think it looks kind of slick and very clean. At the very top, I've got the Hogwarts icon set, which I put next to the buildable Harry and Hermione, and I love the way it looks. It's amazing, and it also fills up that sort of gap between the cabinet and the giant ceiling, which I really love. On the first shelf, I've got my Hogsmeade setup, as well as half of the Diagon Alley buildings, including the empty minifigure stand from Diagon Alley and the golden figure stand from the Hogwarts icons. On the shelf underneath it, I've got Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, as well as Ollivanders and Scribblers, and Privet Drive next to it, as well well as the Whomping Willow, even though storyline-wise that makes absolutely no sense, and 3 sort of the modular Hogwarts connection. The final of the Harry Potter shelves in this cabinet houses like half of my Hogwarts Express and the train station, and then next to it I've got Hagrid's Heart and Buckbeak. You can also see the Monster Book of Monsters sort of hanging out in the background, and a like half the size Forbidden Forest to what it used to be. So I've still got Grob, still got Aragog, Thestrals, and like just a bunch of trees in order to populate it a bit. Underneath that, I've actually swapped the shelves around, and currently I've got my Iron Man armory, and then next to it, because I thought it complemented it really well, I've got my Age of Ultron Hulkbuster, as well as the Igor from the Whole of Armor set. And right next to them, you'll see why I hate the black cabinet now. I've got a variety of my Batmobiles. Sitting at the front of them as well, I've got the Michael Keaton Batman, as well as the Jack Nicholson Joker, and the brand new Scarecrow figure. And then right on the end, just so he doesn't get dusty, is currently the Hydro Stomper mech. Now the next shelf is pretty bare bones, but it's honestly one of my favorites, and it's sort of like this Marvel New York shelf. So I've got the Sanctum completely unfolded, and then in front of it I've got the Hulk seemingly smashing the Lego City sports car, and he is fighting off Thanos and his little minions, which I kind of like, and the only reason they're honestly there is because they're big figs and don't fit in the Marvel display stand. Next to it, however, is the Spider-Man Ultimate Bridge Battle, which just like the Bugle, I've completely decked out in sort of a scene. I've added extra characters, including Deadpool and Captain Stacy, and I've even got Gwen sort of hanging from the bridge, which is honestly a reference to the comic. As sort of dark as that is, I kind of thought it was funny. The shelf underneath is sort of a mess. Currently, I've got In Arisham's Shadow right in that back corner, as well as the Ironmonger Mayhem mech. We've also got the Guardians Volume 2 Milano, which is placed on one of the angled wicked brick stands, which I absolutely love because it looks like it's flying, and it also gives me a lot more floor space to work with. Then just because I don't want him to get dusty and I absolutely love him too much, I've got Wily shoved in the cabinet right next to the Eternals Rise of the Domo Dorito spaceship. I'm not too sure what I want to do with this ship. And then finally on the bottom shelf, we have my little Lego City street, which I think is the closest I'm ever going to get to a Lego City for the time being. And currently I've got the first floor of the police station all built up. I've also got the little Lego cart from that one poly bag. And then on the right hand side, I've got my assembly square, which I love just because of how much space there is to fill up all of these figures. And that is pretty much it for my room. But one thing I also did want to show you was the little windowsill in my bathroom. Currently, I've got a pink brick in there, as well as my Grogu and Mandalorian brick heads. And admittedly, there is a lot of sun that comes through this window in the morning, so I'm slightly worried about UV damage, but I thought at least the pieces on all of these things are relatively common and easy to replace if I need to. So that's my Lego room slash just my room. It's not probably the Lego room of your dreams that you were hoping for, but it's the space that I have and it's what I've done with it. And even though I feel like I could probably organize it a tiny bit better, I'm really happy. Especially with my desk area, this space is like really relaxing, really nice. I love chilling and live streaming here. I love how much empty floor space I have. It's fantastic. Not to mention the ceilings, it's really great. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed the space in general. I tried my best to clean up and I'm really happy with how it's looking at the moment. I just need to keep it like this now. And if you did enjoy the room tour, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.